The cost to afford a place to live has gotten absolutely insane. Check this out.
When boomers were reaching the age to buy a home around the late 80s, early 90s, if you made about $50,000 a year, the average home at that point was about $121,000, about a 2 times increase from your income. The average right now in the United States is a home price that is about 6 times the median income.
Oh, so my generation needs to earn 3 times as much as our parents did when they were our age to give our kids the same quality of life that we got. 3 times is so much. But the good news is we can reverse this trend, as one major American city has. So let's just start with the basics. The US is short 4 million homes to meet demand. The number of home listings on the market right now is lower than it was at any point in the 2000s, even though since then, the US population has grown by 65 million. That's being so behind the 8 ball, you're not even at the pool table. You're in a room over, in a different building, in another state. Simply put, this is a supply and demand problem, but that's where it stops being simple. In 2001, 18% of rental units were owned by companies or investors, and now 45% are. In the first few months of 2025, 27% of all homes sold were bought by institutional investors. And because of this, banning corporate ownership of homes, or corporate landlords, has been one of the main calls by prominent lawmakers on both sides. So today, we're gonna talk about corporate landlords, discuss if we should blame them for our affordability crisis, and wrap everything up in a very exciting surprise we planned for you at the end. We're getting to the bottom of the rent problem so that we can stop seeing so many stories like this one.
After I graduated college, I moved to New York City and lived there for 10 years. I was tired of working 70 hours a week for 10 years. I was living check to check. I came up with this idea that I wanted to leave New York.
Yeah, I get it. Living in New York is expensive, but it's also a privilege, especially with all the heartbreaking things happening around the world. There's so many worse places to have to live, like New Jersey. So where did she go?
I moved to Beijing.
She went to China? I mean, her life can't be that good in China.
My current yearly salary in China is $30,000 US. Rent is $556, but my job pays half of that, $15 a month for subway fare, a flight allowance, free health care.
我觉得中国是最好的国家。Okay, so moving to China is obviously a dramatic example, but buying and renting a home in the US has gotten weirdly expensive, and this affects one of the most central parts of each of our lives. That trend that we just talked about earlier is called the financialization of homes, where homes are increasingly viewed as an asset class to invest in and trade, rather than a social good. Financialization isn't just a word that I use on first dates that's just as effective as birth control. It's also why your landlord nowadays isn't just someone that you can build a relationship with and hold accountable. It's a company that's just there to make some money. And making money they are. One massive US landlord, Tricon Residential, saw its revenue increase 70% in 2022, which it earned by raising rents on tens of thousands of homes. And since then, it's been acquired by Blackstone, a private equity firm managing $1 trillion that we'll be talking about more later. But when these companies are blamed for rising rents, they usually all respond by pointing to the same statistic.
I mean, corporate landlords represent 2% of all single-family rental housing.
That's technically true. Companies like Blackstone that own 1,000 homes or more make up just 2.2% of investor-owned homes. 85% are mom and pop investors who own 5 homes or less each. But it matters where those major firms own homes. Just look at this chart. In some neighborhoods, Blackstone owns 100% of the units. So saying institutional investors don't have monopolies because they just have 2% of the homes across the country is like Standard Oil saying they don't have a monopoly on gas because technically you can still Flintstones your car to get around. And by the way, those other 85% mom and pop landlords might sound charming and trustworthy, like they're gonna kiss you goodnight. But as I found out the hard way, they don't actually like it when you ask them to do that. And as these New Yorkers found out the hard way, they're still there to make a buck.
Javier Myers pays $1,700 a month for his modest rent-stabilized apartment in East Harlem. He complains the landlord does not fix problems like mold or plug up holes to keep out bugs. Nevertheless, his rent keeps going up.
Damn, I got charged extra for the mold and bugs. You gotta have it for free? If you think that landlord is bad, watch this guy.
The landlord is Joel Israel on the right. Some of his tenants would like to see him locked up. Navas and another tenant last month gave us a tour of their bathrooms and kitchens, which Israel last June had demolished with sledgehammers, promising renovations.
Holy shit. Compared to that, I should send my landlord a thank you note. So what happened after that?
Because repairs have not been made, the housing court several months ago ordered the rent in the apartments to be reduced to $1 a month.
On second thought, maybe I'll give my landlord one of these and just leave the door unlocked. And both those examples happened here in New York, so what's our mayor doing about it?
Please come and join me inside my house as I show you how simple items such as bamboo paper can be an indicator of marijuana use. This nature may be a simple jewelry box, but if you look through it closely, you don't know what your child may be hiding. For instance, a gun, something simple as a crack pipe. Behind a picture frame, you can find bullets. Could be just a baby doll, but also it could be a place where you can secrete or hide drugs. I felt something bumpy. I would reach in, see what it is. A child would take this gun. They normally take the gun and they point it in their direction to pull down on it.
Anyways, it also turned out that many corporate landlords use the same algorithm to do what one landlord called classic price fixing. Basically, a company called RealPage offered a platform to landlords that use data from other landlords to suggest to you how much you can raise rents by. It basically meant RealPage was allowing all of these landlords to collectively coordinate raising rents across the country. Just think about it. Think about this like silly example that I'm coming up with right now. 3 little pigs, right? It's like that time those 3 little pigs collectively decided to not let any wolves rent in their neighborhood. Yeah, what they did was illegal and racist. And even worse, I don't want to just breeze over this. This is absolutely insane if this is true. This investigation is still ongoing and RealPage has denied these allegations, but it's a little tough for them to do that when they advertise their platform as a tool that ensures that landlords are driving every possible opportunity to increase price. And remember 10 seconds ago when I said one landlord called their platform classic price fixing? They started that sentence with, "I always like this platform because." This is like if the feds were investigating underage drinking and then just found a liquor store with a sign outside that says, "We love selling to minors," and then a guy came out saying, "I'm 17. This case couldn't have more easily fallen into their lap. And this RealPage probe shows why it's so risky to let one or a few big landlords scoop up whole neighborhoods or big chunks of housing in a city. An example of this is Stuytown, a neighborhood in New York City where 30,000 people live and all 80 acres are owned by Blackstone. And as you can imagine, the city's politicians would not stand for this.
And it's a great, great victory for the tenants of Stuytown and Peter Cooper.
We needed a great company that knows how to deal with real estate, but also has compassion.
Compassionate? Huh? Am I in a simulation? We're talking about $1 trillion company right now, right? You're not in an alternative universe, and here's where corporate landlord ownership gets kind of weird. Many tenants actually do see the Blackstone Stuytown deal as a win. It brought back stability to the neighborhood, and 11,000 apartments were kept rent stabilized that could have otherwise gone to market rate. And this is just a one-off deal. It's rare and difficult, but highlights how corporate landlords can sometimes be good when they partner with the public sector. Even though there is mounting evidence that corporate landlords often use their power to jack up rents locally, one economist found that nationwide it can be a trade-off. When these investors buy homes to rent them out, it adds to the rental supply, which lowers rent, helping disproportionately lower income and younger people. But it also shrinks the pool of homes for sale, driving up prices for middle-class families looking to buy one. So far, I've been talking about existing homes, but corporate landlords also build a huge chunk of new ones. In 2024, the US built 608,000 multifamily units, a 40-year high, and 95% were rentals, built mostly by companies and institutional investors, since it's nearly impossible for individuals to build and manage those themselves. 6% of all single-family homes in the US are built by these institutional investors for the purpose of renting them out. And if it sounds like I'm sympathizing with landlords right now, trust me, I'm not happy about it either. Once, my roommates and I found rats in our apartment. No problem, we called the landlord and they said they'd fix it. So they sent a guy who found the hole that the rats were coming through, which was underneath the cupboard under the sink. So he removed the entire cupboard floor and then removed the cupboard door and then left for the day. unleashing every single rat in that building onto our apartment. He solved that problem like a doctor fixing a common cold by giving you cancer. And when we tried to end our lease early, saying it was a health violation for us to live there, they said, and I want to get the wording right, no. And despite all that, I have to admit that landlords are just governed by basic economic incentives. So yes, when they can make some more money, they'll bring a lot of problems to the housing market. But when they can also make more money, they will help us build more housing. And without them, we would be even further behind in building more homes to keep up with housing demand. It's like hating an airline. Sure, they lose all your luggage, and sure, they delay your flight, and sure, it's because they hate you because their name rhymes with Bumerican Airlines. But the solution isn't to ban all airline companies. We already have laws against companies abusing monopoly power. It's just a matter of electing officials who will actually enforce them. Big landlords shouldn't be able to gang up and hike rents, and if they do, they should face real consequences. But banning corporate landlords outright has a big downside that seems no one is really addressing. It takes away their incentive to build the new housing, which we desperately need. If lawmakers want to act, a smarter move could be a partial ban, like stopping corporations from outbidding families on single-family homes, or pairing limits with subsidies to keep construction flowing. A full ban likely wouldn't make housing much cheaper, but there is an alternative that can decrease rent for everyone. And that's what happened in Austin, Texas.
Austin realtor Olivia Vale says on average rents are down about 10% compared to last year, essentially going back to 2021 levels. Experts say a big reason for the drop in prices is all these cranes in the sky.
This guy thinks it's the cranes in the sky that make the rent go down. No, silly. It's the buildings that they're building. So it turns out in Texas, they have cities, and one of those is Austin, where in some neighborhoods, they've seen the rent go down over the last few years. And this is because of the supply of new housing skyrocketed. When there's a housing supply surplus, the leverage goes from the landlord to the tenant, because now the tenant can threaten to leave because there's a better affordable home that they can go to. And that leverage allows them to threaten their landlord so they can ask for lower rent. And God, I long for a housing surplus. It's happiness, Taco Tuesdays, and a housing surplus in that order. But we don't see more of these kinds of stories because across the country, it is illegal to build apartments, townhouses, condos, and all other kinds of multi-family housing on over 75% of residential land in American cities. In some of the most expensive areas, like the Bay Area, 82% of residential land has made it illegal to build these kinds of affordable homes. So of course, homes cost so much, you can't build any more of them. And just think about how ridiculous this is. There's many things that aren't technically crimes, but should be illegal in residential areas, like fireworks or dudes starting more podcasts. You know, you can just hang out. You don't need to monetize hanging out. But here's the problem. To fix zoning, you would need to go to every single neighborhood or county and convince their city council to build affordable housing in their town. And even if you succeed, this could happen.
Over the past 8 years, the San Francisco area has added 676,000 jobs, but only 176,000 housing units. So a few years ago, the city council voted to change the zoning of one section of the city right here so that they could build a 60-unit affordable housing complex for elderly members of the community. The overwhelmingly liberal residents of Palo Alto decided to hold a vote to overturn the decision to revert it back to low-density, single-family housing. And it passed. And the zoning was overturned.
And it's easy to blame those Bay Area people or anyone else who lives in a single-family home zoned neighborhood. But they're all trying to just protect the property value of their homes, which is a huge chunk of the net worth of the majority of Americans. There's always a somewhere else to put affordable homes. It's like we're playing a nationwide game of hot potato, except the potato is more homes and the game is how much you want the next generation to hate your guts. But if this is happening in San Francisco, where people really claim to care about affordable housing, where people hold up signs saying housing is a human right, then imagine the fight that you have to put up with in the rest of the country. What if instead there's a way to overturn restrictive zoning across the entire country at once? Well, there is a way. In 1926, the Supreme Court passed Euclid versus Ambler, which gave local towns the right to zone their neighborhoods as long as it was for public health, safety, and general welfare. But arguing that today's zoning somehow helps the general welfare is like saying that waterboarding someone somehow helps quench their thirst. This Supreme Court decision gave towns the right to tell you what to build on your land I don't know, sounds a little communist to me. If the Supreme Court overturned this decision, then towns could still zone their land, separate industrial plants from schools and homes, but we could pass laws to stop how restrictive and out of control this zoning has become. Developers would start pouring money into building units, as they do in areas with less restrictive zoning across this country, meeting demand and the cost of housing and renting falling dramatically. By the way, you should want completely trustworthy and unbiased information for yourself. So I cannot recommend more that you go to today's sponsor, 1440, and subscribe to their 100% free daily newsletter. Every single day, their people scour 100+ sources to get you the best information with no bias. I read 1440 every single morning to help come up with stories for these videos. And oftentimes I find things in there that you can't really find well discussed anywhere else. So go to join1440.com. The link is in our description, and subscribe right to now. There are so many things we didn't get to talk about in this video, like rent freezes, which have become really politically popular in cities like New York, or gentrification, or subsidies for housing. We could make another video about each of those things and like so much more. But let me just close off with one thing, and please stick around for this because we've worked so hard for the surprise that we're about to share with you. Let me just say, as someone who is 24 years old, I know a lot of 24-year-olds who don't see the housing crisis as a scary chart, but as a despairing truth of their life. The people I grew up with, whether in upstate New York or New Hampshire, most of them did everything right. They did well, they tried hard in school. And they're not asking for mansions. They're just asking for a few square feet to call their own. Some even earned fancy jobs in skyscrapers in places like New York, where despite their success, the idea of them having a one-bedroom to themselves anytime soon is completely unthinkable. There's a lot of think pieces right now trying to understand the politics of young people. We're often characterized as complainers or quiet quitters, and I don't know any of those, but I do know people who think the implicit promise made to them was broken. But I get it. You're probably thinking, Shreyas, talk is cheap. Nothing is going to change until our leaders really understand what it's like for the rest of us. I totally agree. And that's why we locked the mayor of this great city in a normal New York City apartment for a whole day. And here's what happened. Mr. Mayor.
Boy, this is a
welcome to your new apartment.
This is
How you
a
doing?
New York apartment.
So we're spending the day here. Do you want a protein shake?
Yes.
I got it. To afford a place like this, like a lot of New Yorkers have to get roommates.
Right.
Yeah, to afford a place. We actually got you some roommate. Oh, dude, what are you doing?
What do you mean? I'm subletting. Okay, a month.
What? Dude, get out of it. Get out of there, bro. What? Is that all the roommates? Do we have a few more? Oh.
My girlfriend's coming over. You don't mind sleeping on the street tonight,
Dude,
right?
this is the mayor talking to you, bro.
These are all roommates.
These are all my roommates.
Where do they sleep together?
We have a bed right there.
Hey man, just real quick, can I use your toothbrush? Is that all right?
Dude, are you okay with that? I don't even use a toothbrush. Yeah, we can go over here. We can go over here. You're saying that we can zone more. Why are we so restrictive to begin with? Like, how did we end up in a situation where it's so hard to build?
I love that question.
Yo, the shower's not working in here.
What?
The shower's not working.
Dude, the shower's never worked.
Oh, guys, the shower's never worked.
Dude,
you guys gotta call a plumber. Are you kidding me?
How many guys were in that shower?
How do you rotate whose date night is?
How do we rotate?
Yes.
Well, I don't pull any girls at all.
You know, I'm going to hang out with a shorty no matter where they came from.
Yeah.
Do you have any bamboo?
Bamboo?
Simple items such as bamboo, paper. You sure you don't have any in here? Something simple as a crack pipe.
We have a bong.
This is the creative bond. You can now go into a legal shop and purchase weed. But the goal is when they passed the law, they had too many illegal shops open.
Right.
That was selling everything from shrooms.
And none of us had ever been to that, so what was that like? Mayor Adams, thank you so much.
Hey! I'm the landlord and I'm here to wreck your apartment. A thing that landlords do, apparently.